PFF is running one of their biggest sales ever. 40% off a PFF Plus subscription right now using the promo code BLACKFRIDAY. That means that you get everything fully unlocked. You get the grades, you get the stats, you get all the fantasy advice, the betting advice, which our new player prop tool is available on web as well to make you a smarter, better. You've got all of the draft analysis, the free agency analysis, all of that great stuff. Subscribe.pff.com to get 40% off a year-long PFF Plus subscription. Get it now. Okay, let's talk about the Panthers and the Falcons. Panthers fans, we know that you're in the chat. We've heard from you guys, and we love to see it. So let's get to your game next. Carolina wins a thriller in overtime against a divisional foe by a score of 30-27. Carolina's top 5 graded players here that we had in this game. Rookie wide receiver Tetro McMillan at the top of the list with a 77.2. Cornerback Corey Thornton with a 73.3. Wide receiver Xavier Legette, a 73.2. Offensive tackle Taylor Moton with a 72.7. And then offensive tackle Ike Ekwonu with a 72.2. Bryce Young, though, their highest graded player, 87.2. You love to see that. On Atlanta's side of things, defensive tackle Kale London with an 83.7. Linebacker Caden Ellis with an 82.3. Wide receiver Drake London with an 81.0. Defensive tackle Contavious Street with a 77.0. And then running back Bijan Robinson with a 74.8. Michael Penix in this one, a 79.1 overall grade, and unfortunately we've learned that this was his last game of the season. He's going to miss the rest of the season with a knee injury, so obviously we hope for a speedy recovery there from a very talented quarterback. But this was his last game. What do you want to start with? What was your stat that told the story here?
No, I mean, you look at this Carolina passing game, and it's funny because after last week's loss to the Saints, I had a Panthers podcaster texted me as I was prepping for the show last Monday, and he was like, listen, I don't think Bryce is a franchise guy. I think he could be a game manager. I think he's a guy who could kind of play point guard.
You can't blame people for thinking about that last week.
No, absolutely.
I mean, he had no confidence throwing the ball beyond 10 yards.
I get it. The vibes were low, and it was why does he seem afraid to throw it downfield this year? You've got McMillan, you've got these threats, and what is going? We're back to the old habits of being afraid to throw the football. He wasn't afraid to throw it in this game. And you know what? It felt like you could argue the Panthers' season was on the line in this game. You know what? You lose to the Saints and you lose to the Falcons, 2 teams behind you in the division. It could have been a problem. But my stat that tells the story first and foremost, 12 explosive passes. That's 15 or more yards from the Carolina Panthers. That is the second most by any team in any game this season. Only a few weeks ago, the Bengals against the Chicago Bears had more, and of course, they found a way to lose that game. So that's a whole different problem. But they had 12 explosive passes. The Falcons only had 4, second most by any team this season. Second most, actually, that a Carolina Panther team has ever put up in a game, 12 explosives. The only one with more was Cam Newton's second game in the NFL, week 2 of 2011. That's how long it's been. That's the type of explosiveness you saw from this Panthers passing game. And look, I got to give Dave Canales credit for finding holes in the coverages. I got to give the offensive line credit for protecting Bryce Young enough. There was a couple of times, too, that, look, he came out of this game once. Andy Dalton had to come in for a few snaps. He looked like he was shaken up again in the fourth quarter. He got hit some in this game. And they didn't run the ball a whole lot. This was the biggest question we had with the Panthers coming into this week, right? Is if they're not able to run the ball, can they win ball games? Can Bryce Young carry them to a win? He did in this game, and I'll just skip right to it. He's my most impressive guy. Has to be, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he was the best player on the field. He throws for almost 450 yards. And again, attacking downfield, 10-plus yard throws, 92.2 passing grade, 10 of 14, 225 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's the Bryce Young that we saw the second half of last year. Maybe he's just a second half quarterback, Trevor. Maybe he's just got to get settled in, take 8, 9, 10 weeks to get settled in, and then go, oh, okay, crunch time now, second half of the year. And you know what? Don't look now. But because of that performance and Bryce Young carrying him through this one, they're half game back here, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
It's true.
And you still got to play both games against them later on, a darn near back-to-back. But the Panthers, I've said a million times this season, the 2 variables for them winning and losing ball games, run defense, which has been better this year, and the quarterback. Mm-hmm. It's that, and I know the quarterback, that's basically for almost any team in the league, but especially for this one, if they get this explosive, I thought that. Tell me this, because I was mentioning this when we were watching the game yesterday. Mm-hmm. I thought the biggest play of the game was early Xavier Legette's touchdown early in the third quarter. Mm-hmm. Just go ball, one-on-one shot. Let it rip. Mm-hmm. Let's go. Just win a one-on-one, please.
So I'll stack on top of that. What I loved about this game from Bryce Young was that if you look at both of the first 2 drives of the half, he threw it deep, or he at least threw it more than 15 yards down the field. Like there wasn't this, well, all right, start slow here. Let's get a little.
That's how it was for the whole first half.
Well, outside of that first drive that they had, where he had that long, I think it was like a 15, 20-yard throw to Jalen Coker over the middle.
Yeah.
So they at least got that from that first drive. But then that first drive of the second half, that's where his two big-time throws came in this game. That one to that deep crosser to Jalen Coker, which was just those two throws back to back. That's Heisman Trophy Bryce Young right there. That first throw, his first big-time throw, which was like around 12 and a half left in the third quarter. It was their first drive that they had. He snaps the ball. He's got pressure on both of his offensive tackles. No, actually, I think that was the one where there was an extra blitzer coming in, and Rico Dowdle had to come across his face to pick somebody up, block him across Bryce's left shoulder. Bryce avoids the tackle, steps up strong, launches it, just a picture-perfect pass to Jalen Coker coming over the middle and going to the sideline. And then it was the very next play that he hit Xavier Legette over the top, and you couldn't hand it to him 30 yards down the field better than what he was able to throw it to him. So confidence, right? That's what it was about. We talked about this on the Monday show a week ago. We talked about this on the Wednesday show when we were previewing this game. The thing that matters most to Bryce Young is confidence. 100%. And when Bryce Young is playing confidently, this is the potential result. And when he's not, it's what we saw the week prior, where he's not trusting anything. He's not ready to let the ball go. I wondered if he was hurt, right? I wondered if he was hurt a week ago. But he gets beat up in this game. And it's like the more beat up he got, the more it was just the Cam Newton gif, where Cam Newton's on the sideline, he just goes, okay, yeah, all right. And it's just every single time that he got hurt and a trainer had to look at him, he popped back up. He was ready for it. So it was great to see. Love to see this from Bryce Young because, dude, he's a talented kid. And the Panthers have some weapons, and the offensive line's playing well, and we know what the run game could be. But I think this game was very, very important for the Panthers. You mentioned just as a whole from a win-loss standing standpoint, this was a very important game because I think the Falcons had the formula to basically say, we're going to take the run game out of it. We're going to make Bryce Young beat us. And that's kind of exactly what happened. The run game was okay in this one. I can't remember what they ended up with.
It wasn't great.
No, it was not.
And you look, and the big thing moving for only 67 rushing yards in this game.
Okay, so they had even less than I thought in this game. But it was a script where this is exactly what any team would have said beats Carolina. They go, we stop the run, we stop the Panthers. And for this week, the Panthers let everybody know that's not a guarantee. If you stop the run, we still believe in Bryce. He could be the guy. Now, the key for them is consistency because I feel like we've had this exact conversation about the Panthers 3 times this year where we go, this is it, baby. They're ahead of schedule, second in the NFC South. Potentially even, maybe they'll even compete for the Bucs for the top of the division. They're good to go. And then a week later, we'll go, maybe Bryce ain't the guy. Maybe Dave Canales ain't the guy. Maybe we're moving on. We're clean slate next year. We've had that conversation 3 times on both sides of the fence. So they've now got to stack it. You've got, how many games left do the Panthers have? Do they have their bye week yet?
They only have 6 left, I believe.
You got 6 games left. More than half of them have to be a better version of what the offense is.
I mean,
you've got to be able to have some consistency for the rest of the season.
And I'll tell you, look, you're playing the Bucs twice. You got some really hard games going here. You got three games against the NFC West. Those 3 good teams. But you look at putting that second half that they did this week on tape. And you talk about, okay, they didn't run the ball well against the Saints. They didn't run the ball well in this game. So a lot of people are going to go, okay, they're not running the ball well now. Now the run game's gone. It's not gone. They just need to make defenses respect them over the top and create a little more space down in there. And that's going to be the question for me in this matchup next week against San Fran, who's been pretty good in run defense this year. Are they going to make the 49ers respect them enough over the top to give them space to run the football underneath without 8-9 guys in the box? The Saints stack the box. The Falcons stack the box, like you mentioned it. I think this second half, was big to put on tape for this team, especially, please, Xavier Legette, keep the momentum going, because if you have McMillan and Legette, and you even mentioned Jalen Coker making big plays, and then even Tommy Tremble making the big play in overtime in this game was big time too. They don't get a lot of production out of their tight ends. They got the big play out of one of them in this game. That's what you want to see is next week. Do the 49ers come out with the same idea as the Falcons and Saints? Hey, Bryce, go ahead and beat us, or is there a little more respect now after a second half like this that he just played?
To show the Falcons a little bit of love here, Bijan Robinson was great. 72.0 grade as a rusher and a receiver in this one. He had 8 missed tackles forced on the day. I thought he was very, very confident. Bijan looked about as good as he can look this past game. Drake London also looked incredibly dominant, but I think the issues for the Falcons are repeatable every single week. They don't really have a receiving option that they trust outside of Drake London. Michael Penix was a little inconsistent in this game, and then obviously him getting hurt, we're not going to get to see him the rest of the season. And then I think just on the defensive side of the football, they're young. They're coming together, and it's just, I think the amount of youth that they have at the starter and secondary levels is just something that's always going to be high variance for them this year. So just shouting that out on the Falcons side of things. Anything else on this one before we move on?
I mean, Penix is out for the year. Drake London, it sounds like, is going to be out at least a week. Kirk Cousins going the rest of the way. I got to be honest, when Kirk Cousins is on the field, it just stalls their entire offense, including the run game. Because for the
His arm looks shot, man.
For the same factors we just talked about with Carolina, when Kirk Cousins got in this game after Penix got hurt, it was just, okay, stack it up. Go ahead, Kirk, throw it over our heads, and he just can't do it.
No.
This Falcons team isn't – I'll be honest with you, I don't think they're going to win more than maybe 1 or 2 more games.
Which is painful because they don't have their first-round pick.
Right. The Rams are feeling really good about that trade.
Right? Look –
and this is,
we said this during the game.
Yep.
James Pierce Jr. looks good. So you like the player that you drafted. It's just hard to now, full hindsight, be like, damn, okay, well, would we trade James Pierce Jr. for maybe the player that we would get in the top 8 that's a pass rusher or whoever it's going to be? I don't know. We'll see when it's all said and done. But I think they have to be happy with the player that they got. But it sure stings watching their pick be a top 8 pick.
Well, I'll tell you with the Rams, too, just thinking long-term here, if they have a top 10 pick, well, they're really set up well. If they wanted to start thinking about the future at
quarterback.
The future at quarterback,
yeah.
If there's anybody they liked, if not, they could just take somebody else in the top 10. There's good players in that range. I mean, that's a situation the Rams have to be feeling awfully good about right now.